All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first council meeting of 2019. Madam Clerk, would you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the City Clerk's office in preparation of the council annual meeting notice dated January 3rd, 2019, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Would you please do the roll call?
Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Gould? Ms. Little?
Here.
Ms. McTiernan?
Here.
Mr. Vartan?
Here.
President Naidu?
Here. Okay. I would like to ask Zachary Brooks to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Zachary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notices regarding closed session and hearings and comments?
A closed session meeting as authorized by state statute was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast Channel 36 and Verizon Channel 30, and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on Hometown TV on Comcast 36 and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and your address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the City Clerk's office at rlicatis@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to approximately 3 minutes or so in length. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you. And now on to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for regular and closed session of December 18th, 2018, as well as the organizational meeting of January 3rd, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call. No, we're all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Great, thank you. Okay, reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Council President. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to announce that I'm changing my office hours that are now on Thursdays during the month of February, and instead I'll be available from noon to 2 on Fridays and 6 to 7:30 on Tuesday, and also Wednesday mornings. I'm hoping that this temporary switch will provide increased opportunities for people to come and meet with me. And as always, I'm available by appointment if you just email me at nradist@cityofsummit.org. I want to announce that Union County has entered into a shared services agreement with Essex County to house Union County juvenile detainees in the Essex County Juvenile Detention Center, and this is effective March 1st, 2019. The city had sent a resolution to the governor's office trying to urge them to pass this. This agreement and the closing of the Union County Juvenile Detention Center will save Union County $24 million over a period of 3 years. So it's an important step. Martin Luther King Day of Justice, Equality, and Service to Others will be this coming Monday, the 21st of January. More than 20 events are planned throughout the city and throughout the day. Activities have been expanded to include discussions on community building and present-day struggles against racism and injustice. I have a full day of volunteering planned, and I hope many of you will join me. If you need more information or the schedule of events, please go to cityofsummit.org. Hometown Heroes. Enrollment is now open for the 2019 Hometown Heroes program. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. This will be the second year for the successful program that displays banners with the names, images, and dates of service of active military and veterans on city streets from mid-May through mid-July. In 2019, the program will be expanded from 100 participants to include a total of 200 honorees. Applications will be accepted on a rolling basis and limited to the first 100 eligible applicants. The New Jersey League of Municipalities is running a photo contest to showcase beautiful municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Obviously, Summit is the most beautiful municipality. But we do need your help to win. Please submit your award-winning quality photos by either posting them on my Mayor Nora Radist Facebook page or by emailing pressoffice@cityofsummit.org. The deadline is February 1st, so please post or email your photos soon. And lastly, I have always enjoyed watching Michael Badgley play when he was number 5 on the Summit High School football team, and now I'm thrilled to see that he is doing so well during his first National Football League season with the Chargers. I know I speak for many of us when I say that we look forward to next season and to watching one of Summit's own play in the NFL. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to our city administrator, Michael Rogers. Michael.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Please be advised that the Union County Deer Management Program in Watchung Reservation and other local parks began on January 7th and will run through March 1st. Please stay on designated trails and keep dogs leashed. According to the program, that it's a shotgun component. I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds dangerous. So please stay on the trails or avoid at all costs. For more information, please visit the Union County website, which is ucnj.org/deer, or contact them at 908-527-4900. Registration for the Summit Family Aquatic Center and the Municipal Golf Course is now open for both Summit residents and non-residents. The Spring Summit Free Market dates have been announced, and they are Saturdays, April 27th and May 4th. To volunteer or for more information, follow the Summit Free Market on Facebook or email pressoffice@cityofsummit.org. Curbside Christmas tree pickup is ongoing through January 25th. Please remove all decorations and do not put trees in plastic bags. Wreaths are not collected curbside, so please dispose of them with your household trash or in the upper level pit at the transfer station. And finally, a new transit signal has been installed at the intersection of River Road and Passaic Avenue in Summit. Currently, this signal is in flash mode until January 21st. On January 22nd, the signal will be fully activated. Motorists should be aware of the new traffic patterns and drive safely. And I just have one other item that the fire chief would like to come up and just present to the council and the public.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to recognize one of our lieutenants, Lieutenant Brian Harnoids, just completed the year-and-a-half program called the Command and Control Series at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. It's made up of a very intense course, made up of 6 weeks, spread over a year and a half. It includes command and control of incident operations, command and control of multi-alarms, command and control of target hazards, and end with a 2-week, very interactive command and control of natural memory disasters. Very intense course. I just want to congratulate him for taking the time to go down there and bring all that information back to Summit. So, congratulations, Tim.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you very much. And for my council president's report, I actually have one. Typically, I don't, and but I want to read some thoughts that I have. Our lives begin and end the day. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. That is a quote from the man who was born this day, Martin Luther King, Jr. I know you are familiar with his other famous statements and actions that he undertook. I would like to talk, however, about an episode of his life that I don't think most of us are familiar with and that continues to have relevance for us. In 1966, Dr. King moved his family to Chicago to advocate for affordable housing, rehabilitation of public housing, and desegregation of residential racial housing, which he characterized as more segregated than in the South. He reached a settlement with the Chicago's Mayor Daley, and his activities were a factor in the passage of the federal 1968 Fair Housing Act. In 1969, a group of African American citizens purchased a piece of property and sought to build affordable housing apartment complex in a town in southern New Jersey. The town's zoning code at that time prohibited the construction of any type of housing other than single-family housing. The residents and the NAACP sued that town. In 1975, the state Supreme Court ruled it was unconstitutional for any municipality in the state to zone in ways that would make it impossible to build housing for people of low and moderate incomes. The town in question was Mount Laurel. Its name is now synonymous with affordable housing. After 40 years, Mount Laurel's doctrine is different from where it began. It is, however, important to remember the context of how this all began. And I raise this issue today because the topic of affordable housing is currently being discussed by certain residents, especially in social media. And just as important to understand the context of how Mount Laurel came about, it is important to understand the context about our low and moderate income housing, as well as more generally, affordability issues. First, low and moderate income housing is placed throughout the town and is not as something relegated to a certain section of the town. As examples, there will be affordable housing in the new Sunrise development on River Road, the townhouses on Passaic and Springfield, as well as the recent construction on Euclid Place. There are city-owned units on Weaver Street, Broad Street, and Glenwood. Second, and more generally, over time, our housing stock has become limited, and thus affordable housing is needed to create socioeconomic diversity. For example, the trend lines show that the city has now fewer multiple family units and fewer rental units than it did 20 years ago. In 1990, 31% of the housing units in town were rental units. In 2014, it was 27%. And even in raw numbers, it went down from nearly 2,500 units in 1990 to approximately 2,200 units in 2014. Additionally, rents have gone up. In 2000, only 16% of rental unit costs were above $1,500 a month, and by 2014, that was up to 50%. Let me close by saying that low and moderate income housing and affordability of housing can seem like complex issues. However, if we focus our eyes on what is necessary, that is to create a more inclusive community with housing options available for different parts of our community, we can be on the path, as Dr. King would have said, on a more beloved community. Thank you. Okay. So today we have a historical minute, and Zachary Brooks is here to present the historical minute. Come on up, Zachary.
Myrtle Wilson, the other woman in F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, is based on a real person by the same name who was involved in a car accident in Summit in 1926. The accident took place on Springfield Avenue and Park Avenue. Coincidence? Probably not. In 2005, author Andrew Gallimore contacted Patricia Miola of the Summit Historical Society for some research assistance for his book, Occupation, Prizefighter, The Freddie Welsh Story. Interesting connections to Summit, the surrounding area, and The Great Gatsby were discovered. Mr. Welsh was born of humble means by the name of Frederick Hall Thomas and reinvented himself as Freddie Welsh when he came to America to start a new life. The fictional James Gads, also of modest means, reinvented himself as Jay Gatsby to start a new life. Mr. Welsh became a wealthy boxing champion hanging out in New York City with a posh crowd. He was charming, well-mannered, and led a lavish lifestyle just like Jay Gatsby. Freddie Welsh socialized with actors and authors. Eventually, he acquired enough money to fulfill his American dream of owning his own health farm, which he established in Chatham. F. Scott Fitzgerald, a friend of Welsh's, would spend time with him at his health farm. Fitzgerald came to know of Welsh's humble beginnings, his desire for a new life, his name change, his American dream, to Welsh's downfall and loss of everything, and even of his car accident in Summit, where Myrtle Wilson was involved. Freddie Welsh, for the most part, is The Great Gatsby. His life inspired one of the greatest books ever written, and some of that inspiration for The Great Gatsby took place right here in Summit.
That's great.
Thank you very much, Zachary. Very
Thank you.
interesting. Thank you. Can you give your statement here? Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks.
No, I think we're good.
No. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. We have one presentation tonight, and that is by the fire chief about fire inspections as well as insurance. Line up.
Probably about a 45-minute presentation.
Oh, okay.
I want to take a quick minute minute and do a plug for the Summit New Providence Rotary Club. They'll be hosting their annual blood drive on January 21st from 1 to 6 at Christ Church in Summit. Anybody wants to donate blood can go visit redcrossblood.org, punch in the keyword Christ Church, and you'll see a bunch of time slots available from 1 to 6. Hopefully residents can come out and have a good day. It's also Martin Luther King Day. It also coincides with some of the activities that are going on Martin Luther King Day. So, all right. So tonight we'll talk real quick. We want to talk about a couple fire code changes that just took effect beginning in January. And also, I'll talk about an ISO review. A lot of people don't know what that's about. We'll do a quick little presentation on what ISO is and how it affects the fire department, the city, and also potential savings for fire insurance for citizens of Summit. So real quick, Summit Fire Department is a 32-member career department. We have 12 volunteers. We work on a 4-platoon system. We also have administrative staff and myself, deputy chief, an office manager, and 2 fire inspectors that go out and do inspections on a daily basis. They also work with UCC as well, with Gary Lewis. We provide with fire suppression. We also have an arson investigation task force that works alongside with the Summit Police Department and also Union County Prosecutor's Office. We do technical rescue, vehicle operation applications. We also assist the first aid squad and first responders. Any medical call that a first aid squad can't cover, we cover for them. Fire prevention, inspections, fire education, hazard materials, and routine fire department responses. So two quick changes that affects residents and business owners in Summit. This law take effect January 1. One of it is if you have any kind of suppression system or detection system that's required in your properties, they need to be inspected on the schedule. Some are inspected quarterly, every 6 months, and yearly. And part of our inspector, we go out, we do inspections, and they have to have a test record. The new law requires that when your company comes out and does your inspections, they have to have the report to the fire official within 5 days. In the past, it took a lot of weeks. They kind of kept some payment as hostage, but now within 5 days, they have to provide the report to the fire official so we can close out the inspections. Another new change is pertains to standalone smoke detectors. If you're not on a monitored system, if they're not hardwired, if it's a standalone smoke detector, they're doing away with the 9-volt batteries. Right? So as of January 1st, if you have a 9-volt battery in your business, you have to replace them with a 10-year concealed unit. The 10-year smoke detector, the battery's concealed. After 10 years, you dispose of the unit and you replace it. If you're a homeowner, it doesn't apply to you unless you are going for a CO if you sell your house. If you sell your house, you need a CO, and that's done through the construction office. Then they'll require you to swap out your detectors, get rid of the 9 volts, and go to the new First Alert or whatever the company is for the 10-year concealed battery units. So real quick, so the main presentation is on ISO, and what ISO is called an Insurance Service Office. Every 5 years, the City of Summit and the Fire Department is looked at what fire suppression capabilities we provide to the city based upon a bunch of risk factors within each community. Every community is a little different, so the factors are different. And basically what it is, it's an independent company that serves insurance companies, fire departments, communities, and looks at specific risks in each community. They collect this data through all communities throughout the United States, and the ISO program is 4 factors that they rate your community on based upon some criteria like the National Fire Protection Agency, NFPA, and the American Water Works Association. They take all these factors, they come up with something that's called the fire scoring rating, and after they do the fire score rating, you get an ISO score for your particular community. So real quick, this is what it looks like, the scoring. To go in category 1 through 8, as long as you have a fire department in your town, you have your water supply and accredited dispatch center, you will fall in either 1 through 8. Number 1 being the best possible score, and number 8 being the lowest. 9 and 10 are recognized, which pretty much means you have no fire protection, no water in your town. And you stand on rates based upon how efficient your department is and how much water you have. So real quick, and what they've looked at is that there's a direct correlation between the community investment in fire mitigation, low fire losses, and also the lower your score is, typically you have lower fire losses within your community. And basically it's a report card for the Summit Fire Department. Everything is dissected. It's about a year program. It takes about a year long to get all the information in there. They audit it, they come up with some corrective action plans, and then they publish it a year later. This just took effect January 1 of 2019 on your rating. So real quick, how it's broken down to it, there is 4 categories. First one is emergency communications. It stands for 10% of the score. They look at emergency reporting, how emergencies are brought into the dispatch center, to the fire department. telecommunicators, the amount of telecommunicators, how their training is, and dispatch circuits is how the dispatch gets put out to the units in the field from the dispatch center. So real quick, under these categories, there's about 4 or 5 subcategories, and they're all scored upon. So if you look at emergency reporting, look at your 911 system, and the kind of wireless technology you have, CAD system, computer dispatch, all the things are brought in. And there's available credit, and then there's earned credit that each category is based on. The 50% of the second phase is fire department. That's the biggest scoring factor in the study. Everything's based on a first due alarm assignment to structural firefighters, fires. So first due ladders, how many engines we have, how many ladders we have, reserve apparatus, how we deploy our apparatus, are we sending the right amount of apparatus to reported fires, how many firefighters are on duty to mitigate the problems, training, operation considerations, and then community risk reduction. Those are all factors that are brought into it. So an example is under training, there's all these criteria that you look at under training. Facility use, right now, that's kind of a reflection on our current firehouse, what we have in our building to train our firefighters to today's standards. It's very low. Hopefully, around the firehouse, we'll get more points on that. And company training, stuff for officer training, driver training, all these categories you looked at, pretty in-depth on how we train our firefighters and also our recruits. Also, fireground operations, once we get on scene, they look at how well our officers are managing our scene and how we stick into national standards. So when we get on scene, are we putting up an incident management system, are we properly accounting for all our firefighters on scene? The third part is water supply, water distribution systems, and fire flow needs, type and size of hydrants in our community. We do a great job with working with the water company on upgrading all our mains. Are constantly looked at. We do flow testing on all our mains to make sure that there's proper water. Every building in town has a water flow class to it. How many gallons of water is needed to mitigate any kind of fire in that building. This is also one example of that how many years that we actually go out physically and flow all these systems, sprinkler systems, standpipe systems, and also work with the water company in flow testing of the hydrants to make sure everything is suitable for our firefighting needs. There's also a diversion factor that they put into the score, and what that is basically is that they look at that disparity between how much water is available versus what we have in place to mitigate problems. So we can have a fully staffed fire department and have very little water, or vice versa, have a lot of water and not a lot of equipment. So it's kind of look at the correlation between both those pieces and make sure that everything's even. And then they come up with a factor and they score that on us. The last part is community risk reduction. How well we enforce the code, how will we go out to the public and do education programs, and then also how do we look at community risk within our community. Some of that falls on emergency management, how well we mitigate problems to reduce loss in our community. These are some examples of how they score under fire prevention and public safety education. So they take all these 4 factors, communications, fire department, water supply, community risk, and they come up with something that's called a PPC score, public protection score. And it falls in these categories. So they look at all these factors, they add them up, and at the end of the day, they give you a score, and basically a report card for the fire department, how well we are trained, manage our resources, operate in the field, mitigate problems. It all comes down to a score. I'm happy to say that Summit is a community, it's a class 2, which is very, very good. We had our initial report had us down. They changed some of the criteria in 2017, so we had to add some more points, and we made a corrective action plan in 18, and we got reevaluated, and we actually maintained that score, which is very, very well for a community of our size. And here it is here. So now it's class 2, and we're 80. Our score is a little bit above 80, which just got us into the class 2 protection for the fire department. Where we stand countrywide, there's only less than 2% of the cities in the United States have a class 2 rating. And to narrow it down a little bit more, we're only one of 22 cities in New Jersey that have a class 2 rating. And what all this information is used for is that insurance companies use it for marketing, underwriting, established fire premiums for insurance companies. And also, the pretty much direct correlation with towns that have good PPC grades, you usually get substantially lower premiums on your homeowners insurance and fire insurance. More so for bigger companies, they have more of a risk, and it's really saving for them. And residents should residents can have the time to contact their insurance company to make sure that this class 2 reflects of what their insurance premiums are. And also, there's always ways to improve. Even though we are very, very well scored, there's always areas to improve. So we looked at all our scores, anything that, most of our scores, we're within 1.5 points of the top score. So we have very, very small room to improve, but the areas that we did carve out, anything that was beyond the 3 was facilities use, which our new firehouse will probably comment a lot of that. Fire prevention staff, the correlation of inspection volume versus how much staff in fire prevention, which also goes with fire prevention and certification and training. Our training we can improve upon as far as sending more guys out for training. Investigation, organization, and staff, and then staffing in general were the areas that we scored low on. Staffing was the lowest out of all our scores, and the facilities use was the lowest as far as with 35%. So those are the areas that in the future we're looking to build upon different programs, different techniques on how to utilize the most out of our staff and all the recent training that we need to have done. With that, any questions anybody has, you can contact me, ever@thecityofsummit.org. I'll be happy to answer any question, elaborate any further on anything that I discussed tonight. And with that, that's my presentation. Any questions, I'll be happy to
Great, thank
Talk
you,
about it.
Chief. Okay, you folks have questions up here on the case? Anybody from the public?
I just want to say, I know that when on the Safety Committee in 2017, we talked a lot about the initial report and that you had a long, not long, but you went through with the department and with this company and then did all the action steps to
Yeah.
improve it. So you were hoping to get to this better number, and I'm glad you did.
We did, yeah. Our initial score took us down to a 3.
Right.
And then they typically come in a year before, they audit you, and they give you an opportunity to have a correction action plan. We did that. We increased our staffing, minimum staffing 5 to 6. We also increased some of our training. We also increased a lot of our fire flows inspections out in the field, which the extra body gave us the opportunity to do that. So that alone boosted us back up to a 2.
Thank you.
So what was our score last year, though?
It was a 2.
It was a 2.
Before that, and every 5 years we got audited, so before that we were a 3.9. We went to a 2, and then when we got audited in 17, they made some criteria changes, and it was built, instead of 100 points, it went to 105 points.
Got it.
And they made some correlation between how far it burned nowadays, so they made some of the scoring more, a little harder to get, so we had to do a little bit of adjusting, so. And a lot of it had to do with our operations and how we deploy resources and staffing and water supply needs, so. In those areas, we kind of looked at it, kind of, improved on some of those areas.
Do like for residents, right, you said that for residents, having a 2 has a potential impact on their homeowners'
Yeah.
premium, right? Do insurance companies automatically get notification about the fire department's ratings, and so it's usually just built in? or-
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes they do, and some insurance companies won't look at that, they do, but sometimes they won't, and so it's always good to remind your insurance company that you do have a 2 classification. There are a lot of agencies, there are some other ways to rate insurance in the town. This is one of them. So not every insurance company uses this, but it's more used for a bigger industrial where there's a lot of fire loss, a lot of fire risk in the community, more so than residents. But every little bit counts with insurance.
And Chief, on our city Facebook page, not our Facebook page, on our city's website, is how we have that scroll on the bottom of different things. Is this mentioned, is the fact that we have a 2 rating?
It will, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, after this presentation, we'll be putting something out this week. We'll do a little press release. We'll also include, there'll be a page from the ISO that says we're a Class 2, and residents can use that page as proof that somebody is a Class 2 in case they need documentation. And that'll all be available on the website.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Okay.
All set?
Hold on. Are there any members of the public who have any questions for the chief? Okay, that's it.
Good,
Thank you, Chief.
appreciate it, thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on, now is the section of the council meeting where we ask the public if they have any comments about topics that are not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. Okay, move along. We are now into resolutions. We have a few resolutions from Capital Projects and Community Services. Councilwoman Fox, would you like
Thank
to
you.
start with the first one?
Thank you, Council President. So the first resolution, 6155, authorizes the city engineer and the mayor to sign routine permit documents and plans for various projects for permits issued by other governmental entities. And this is a time-saving and paperwork streamlining measure rather than requiring council resolutions for each, which can take additional time. This avoids those delays, and the city engineer, under his license, will utilize sound engineering judgment when signing these documents and will notify the appropriate council committee when action is taken. I move this resolution.
Second. Any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, capital projects, number 2.
Okay, thank you, Council President. This resolution, 6137, authorizes the city to request that Union County replace and upgrade the existing traffic signal at the intersection of Walnut Street and Broad Street. The signal is 27 years old and is the second oldest signal in the city's inventory. It's still fully operational, but is due for numerous upgrades, including the signal control box and the installation of detection cameras. In addition, should a development on the Broad Street East lot occur, the signal would be unable to be upgraded to some of the modern technology that would be needed. As with all signals on county roads, the county will fund the cost to replace or install the signal, and it's the city's responsibility to maintain the signals thereafter. I move this resolution.
Second, any comments, questions from members of council? Mike?
Just, this is the second oldest unit. Sort of begs the question, what's the oldest unit? And what's going on with that?
Aaron, do you know the precise location of this unit?
Yes, that would be the Ashwood and Broad one, which has been unfortunately or fortunately knocked down a few times, so it has been upgraded some, but that would be the next one we'd request, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of council? The only thing I'll mention, and this is to piggyback off what Councilwoman Fox said, which is, it's a functioning unit, but of course, we're looking into that area of Broad Street for moving the fire station. And so when we talk about, well, why are we thinking of doing this, is because if you, when we have to figure out, okay, where's the fire station, the exit, the entrance and exit for the fire trucks, it'll be in and around where that Walnut Street signal is. And as we all probably also appreciate is the fact that putting this right now in the hopper, if you will, of getting Union County to focus on it and look at it is one of those preparatory things that we need to do as we think about how we sequence different events for getting to Broad Street redevelopment. Any comments or questions from members of the public? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Capital projects number 3.
Thank you. Capital Resolution number 3, 6167, authorizes the execution of an agreement with Union County to permit the installation of a rectangular rapid flashing beacon on the intersection of Morris Avenue and Elm Street. And this will be installed by the city at its own expense, but it requires permission from Union County because of its placement on Morris Avenue, which is a county road. The beacon will improve roadway and pedestrian safety and is particularly useful because it's located near the Summit Middle School and the Sampson commuter lot. I move this resolution.
Second. Comments from members of council? Steve?
Yes. This came out of safety, and I know we were having a conversation on what side of the street it was going to be on. What side did we finally get to, or are we going to install it on? 'Cause there's two pedestrian, there's the two pedestrian walkways.
Right, what ideally we'd like to have it at both crosswalks instead of removing a crosswalk, but the first step was to get the permission, and now we have to, we'll go back to safety to look at how we do it strategically. Because unfortunately, on the other side, you do have some tree issues, but you don't really want to leave one sidewalk or one crosswalk, without the access to the system.
Right.
So,
By the way, I love the idea,
Right.
No, it's nothing to that effect. I just
Right.
want to make sure.
That is a very well used
Yes.
crosswalk on both sides, and and traffic goes really fast, and we've got kids walking there. It's I sometimes park on that lot and walking across. It is dangerous, and I think unfortunately we have also just the lighting there is very dark, especially in the evening time. I think it becomes very dangerous.
Well,
Anybody?
everyone should probably not wear black jackets either.
Well, interestingly, you say that. The other day, I saw a person wearing all black crossing in the middle of DeForest, not where the cross, where Norwood was. I almost hit the person. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Anyway, that's just a sidebar. Any comments from members of the public? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Capital projects number 4.
Okay, this 6141, this resolution authorizes the acceptance of a donation in the amount of $3,850 from the Summit Parkline Foundation. The purpose of this donation is to purchase 6 park benches to be installed by the city at Phase 1 of the park line, and that's the section between Morris Avenue and Broad Street, and that's the part that's already been constructed. The Summit Parkline was the recipient of the grant offered through the Summit Area Public Foundation for the purchase of these benches. The recommended bench locations and the bench styles suggested by the Parkline Foundation have been reviewed and discussed in the former Buildings and Grounds Committee. And 2 of the bench locations will be located on the trail section owned by Atlantic Health System. And the Parkline Foundation has secured approval from Atlantic Health for those to be placed there. I think this will be a great addition to the segment of the Parkline, and I move this resolution.
Second. Any comments or questions from members of council? Mike?
I just think this is going to be a great addition. I mean, the vision of this linear park has been, I think from day one, to be one that has amenities, things that people can use. And I know for a fact that a lot of people do traverse this park, part of the park line already. The meeting that we had with the public before the holidays was very well attended, and while there were a couple of people who had some serious questions, I think there were a lot of people who were very, very enthusiastic about the project, and it's great to see that this is moving forward. I particularly like the fact that Atlantic Health has embraced this as well, and by them putting 2 of the benches on their property kind of shows that they're all in on this idea as well. So I think this is a great idea.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from members of council? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 5, capital projects.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution 6148. This resolution authorizes the declaration of 3 vacancies in Division of Public Works in the Department of Community Services. Pursuant to closed session discussion, we discussed these 3 vacancies are critical positions and all are needed for snow plowing as well. I move this resolution.
Second. Okay. Any comments or questions from members of council? Comments or questions from members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to finance. Councilwoman Little.
Thank you, Council President. The sole finance resolution is for extension of sick pay with leave for a Division of Public Works employee. We discussed this in closed session, and I would move this resolution for approval.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of council? Comments or questions from members of the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Law and Labor.
Last one of the night.
Councilman Bowman.
How long can I extend this? As per our discussion in closed session, this is to appoint and complete the rent commission. It's a fully staffed now, right? So it's resident Anne Marie Cahill, who is a real estate agent as well as a landlord, and that fills that last spot. So we move this resolution.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from members of council? All I will say is it's great to see this year we're going to have the full complement for the rent commission. Councilman Vartan is going to be the council liaison there, and we hope to hear great reports about what the rent commission is doing. Any comments or questions from members of the public? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have one resolution that's from the floor, from the Safety Committee. Councilman Vartan, please.
Thank you, Council President. I move to adopt a resolution declaring a vacancy for a police officer. This is the result of a retirement of an officer who served honorably in the Summit Police for 26 years. As discussed in closed session, this motion is coming from the floor because of the time-sensitive nature of the onboarding process for the replacement officer.
So do I hear a second? Yeah.
Okay, second.
Any comments or questions from members of council? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moved on to the consent agenda. very quick today. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda so as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Council member comments and new business. Anybody have any comments or new business? All right, Monty?
Someone's got to say it. Thank you, Council President. Just a happy birthday to our Council President today. Happy birthday. I think there's might be some correlation to the speed of the meeting to his birthday. But as well, happy birthday also to Councilwoman Fox. I think it's tomorrow. So happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Any further comments from anybody in council?
Just also a happy birthday to our city solicitor, Matt Jacoby, this Sunday, too.
Okay. There's nobody else who's having a birthday anytime soon. Okay, any other comments? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.